Hello, everybody. It's Leah Etling with Running USA, and I am so excited to be here today with Morgan Ashworth. Welcome, Morgan.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's a really exciting time for you personally and also for Ashworth Awards. You've just been named the company's Chief Operating Officer as well as acting sales manager. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's an exciting transition for me.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of just jump right into that because having gotten to know you a little bit over the last few years, I know you have a really interesting background. You've got like really deep background in human resources, but then you're also well versed in the manufacturing and operations side of the family business. So tell us a little bit about that background, how it's going to kind of shape your priorities in your new role, and what's going on with the role going forward.
Yeah, certainly. So when it comes to my HR background, I had a focus on organizational development. And so because of that, naturally, any and every part of an organization, a corporation really applies to organizational development. It's about applying change management to the company, whether that be internal company initiatives, external initiatives, succession planning, performance management, new product development, new marketing material. There's so many little things that can apply to organizational development. And that was my focus under the HR realm. That's actually what made me get into more of the operations and manufacturing side of things as well. You know that sustainability is a large part of Ashworth Awards mission and vision. And with that, I introduced the lean manufacturing principles to the organization and got certifications there myself as well as for our individual team members to ensure that we not only are our products sustainable in some way, shape, or form, but the processes behind them are sustainable. Lack of wasted time, lack of wasted material, the ability to re-recycle material or reutilize material if possible, um, all really applied under my realm. Definitely the HR space, there's an argument surrounding it, whether organizational development's meant to be under HR or not. I think it's critical that it is, just because HR is a very strategic component behind a company. And I was very lucky to be able to go to school and apply HR to my education. Funny enough, I actually went to school for industrial organizational psychology. That's what my degree is in. And I went for that knowing I liked psychology, but I wanted to apply it to the business scape, having grown up seeing Ashworth Awards and not necessarily the struggles, but where there were improvements necessary, where there were changes needed. I mentioned change management earlier. And so because of that, I want to make sure that we continue the foundation that Kim, Dan, and even previous to them, Doug, my grandfather, built, but to allow us to expand as a corporation to support not only our team members, but our clients, um, and continue to build off that foundation. So I think there's so much to do surrounding that. The company started as a recognition products and emblematic jewelry manufacturer, but we've come a long way since then. With that, I really look forward to continuing the legacy we've had of a corporation that focuses on celebration, but also is able to maintain our internal culture, and the values that have come about through time, such as environment and sustainability.
I love that. And I'd be so curious to know. So, when you were growing up, do you have any particular memories or points at which you were like, oh my gosh, my family has this really interesting company that we're developing? Was there a pivotal point for that, or was it always just kind of immersed in the journey of your life?
Um, I think I was maybe just immersed in my life. I
Mhm.
also grew up a runner. And so, because of that, I was already receiving medallions and awards for running events, not just, the running events I partook in because of Ashworth Awards, but because of the track and field events I did and the cross country events I was partaking in. And so, I do think Ashworth Awards pushed me into those sports in a way just because I saw them. But I also can give it to Kim and Dan because their genes made me a good runner.
That's awesome. So it was experiential. I love that. That seems really
Yes, yes,
perfect.
certainly experiential.
Yeah.
I was actually my cousins and I, when we were younger, would go into the shop and check things out, like on weekends or when family was there, and then it just grew from there. I would come to the shop and hang out while my parents were working. Sometimes I would help out, like once I got into like middle school, high school, and then it just developed from there. I knew that no matter what I did in my life for my career, I wanted to be able to at least help with Ashworth Awards. I'm lucky enough that Dan and Kim chose to bring me onto the team.
Very cool. I wanted to talk a little bit about the products because obviously Made in the USA has always been a really big, important initiative for you guys. Talk a little bit about that. I know you're also looking at maybe expanding some international production. This is certainly a time when seems like it's good to have a blend of both, but tell me a little bit about balancing that and kind of what the focus is going forward.
Yeah, certainly. So Made in USA and international production have ebbed and flowed over the years, similar to how just the industry standard of products have ebbed and flowed between Made in USA and overseas units. So we were a 100% manufactured in the US when we were first created. Then in the 90s, early 2000s, we had to pivot and we did develop a manufacturing unit overseas, and from which we were working with that to ensure that we could stay within the going rate of the product line. But then there was a huge, you know, how do I say it? Like a huge push actually from clients and customers that wanted Made in USA again.
Mhm.
And so not only was it more of a government based driven initiative to bring manufacturing back to the US, but clients actually wanted us to bring manufacturing back to the US. And so that's why we developed our product line. Die cast in the US is a lot more wasteful, it's a lot more expensive. And so that's why we created our dimensional steel medallion line. We can do other dimensional steel products within that same line, from pins, awards, keychains, you name it, we can probably do it. Because instead of starting with a dimensional substrate, which is cast, we end up starting with a flat substrate from which we build a top. And that ends up saving time, material, so it's more sustainable, and is more cost effective for production capabilities and clients' desire for budget.
Super interesting. And kind of along those same lines, I mean, I think one thing that we've seen in the metal space over the last decade or so is just the desire to develop all sorts of different products beyond just metals, all sorts of other things that are, either an award of some sort or just a token of participation or something, a memento, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of race directors, there's many that want utility within their products
Yeah.
too. And so we typically need to produce that utility here in the States first, since we have to do the R&D, the research and development behind it before we can produce it with our overseas unit. We do that because we need, control over it and to really understand the production files needed to create said product. Ashworth Awards, we do pride ourselves that we create the production files from scratch. So we're not depending on others like the overseas units to create it for us. We're creating them ourselves. I would say now we have the mixture of both our overseas unit and here in the States, because simply based off of the desires of those around us, we'd love to bring diecast back to the States. And it is something in our research and development that we've been looking at for a few years now, but it's very difficult to do. We have an inkling of what we want to do, but it's a couple years out, I would argue. But with that, luckily we have multiple product lines to choose from. We actually have plenty more product lines in the US to choose from than overseas. And then on top of that, tariffs and the concerns surrounding duties, it's really critical that we have Made in USA as an option to help people avoid that. In fact, we had back in the summer when people were worried regarding the tariffs, we actually had people take their die cast metal we designed and transfer it to a dimensional steel medallion. So we were able to transition for a new production process.
Mhm. Super interesting. So talk to me a little bit about like what a roadmap journey looks like when you're deciding to develop a new product first of all, how do you come up with those ideas? Are they client driven? Are they internal? And then, what does it look like from there?
Yeah, I would say the concept typically is client driven. So we want made in USA, we want sustainable products. But then the process is internally driven. I can credit most of it to Dan. He has a manufacturing mindset through and through. Kim and I have definitely developed it in tandem with him. But he was kind of the star of the show behind dimensional steel medallions. Kim will bring out some different product options. Dan will always have ideas. I will sometimes have ideas. I do argue that I tend to be the coordinator of ideas more than the idea generator. Not to say I don't generate my own ideas, but when it comes to that process, I would say it first starts with a ton of research. A ton of research. So much time is spent to do that research to know that something's going to work. And then there's trial and error. Then we start working with it. We say, okay, this is what we need to do. These are manufacturing capabilities we have. How can we transition those to be more quality, higher end, a little bit more complicated? So, taking from our experience as a manufacturer for 60 years through what we've done in the past, as well as new research and new findings out there, and then starting that trial and error until we get to a point that we feel successful for launch. I can say, our dimensional steel product line, we've been doing it for 6 years now. We soft launched it in 2019 because we were starting to test it and it took a little bit extra time. So we weren't hard launching it. Then we hard launched it in 2020. Perfect timing because people needed made in USA during the pandemic. And once we hard launched it, we're still developing that line. We're still improving it. We create new files and we create new ideas to help build atop it. Like for example, we're trying to get more movement-based pieces inside those metals. It's something that we've been working on, like the sliders, the spinners. We want to make that happen. It's just not yet. So right now we do bottle openers and dangle attachments.
Super fascinating. It's really like kind of interesting to peer behind the curtain and see how complicated it is working
Yeah, we
behind the
actually
scenes.
track our yeah, we actually track our research and development time.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Mhm.
So let's look toward the future. You just were announced in this new role about exactly a week ago, I think. So tell me a little bit about what your plans are. Will you make changes to strategy or how you do customer service, and what's on the docket?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm not going to make any immediate changes, right? What we've done has clearly worked for us for 60 some odd years. So, not necessarily changing anything right off the docket. Um, I definitely believe in learning and listening first. I've had an understanding of how the acting sales manager role works. I've had an understanding of how the operations works. But I want to make sure that whatever changes I make don't just come from me, also come from, bottom up. So instead of just doing top down, I want to do bottom up too. And because of that, whatever changes I'm making, I need to make sure it's going to work for the salespeople. So, and I need to make sure it's going to work for our clients. And so we do have sales meetings on a biweekly basis, so every other week. And within those meetings, we will talk about any of the maybe coordination struggles, communication struggles we're facing, any trends we're seeing with customers, and work together. So we call it our sales collaboration meeting. Work together to find solutions for these trends and or issues we might be facing. For example, right now, I don't know why, but rush jobs are a huge thing. Everyone needs a rush job. Fall is a very busy season. We are already pretty much at production capacity, but we're working with our customers to try to still allow rush jobs to get through. So we try to take that consultative approach. And that I would say that's the number one thing I will continue to push is taking that consultative approach with our customers. We're here to help you and to determine what is best for you, making sure that your wants and needs are aligned with our capabilities. We love R&D, so if you want it, we can probably create it too. So I would say that my first changes to sales strategy would be just ensuring that everything's coordinated and nothing's falling through, which there certainly isn't, but making sure there's nothing falling through, really getting to know if there's any reassignments for accounts or, if we have new team members coming on, their personality will match with their assigned accounts. Um, Things along those lines. When it comes to client engagement, I've already been in charge of our marketing since 2021, actually. And so that's just been ever developing. Our sales reps always give me ideas. Our clients even will give me ideas to say, hey, can you feature this for us? And we're like, sure, why not? The customer newsletter is something we recently started doing, and I would say it's actually a hit. People love it. We do it on a quarterly basis. And then just overall on the customer service side, really ensuring that my sales team are the experts for customers to go to. So even on the product lines we might not necessarily be experts on, like towels, we can still do towels. You can come to us and talk to us. We actually have a quote unquote stock towel that we can create sublimated. And so really ensuring that the products we have, the offerings we have are what customers need, but also making sure customers know we're not afraid to try either.
Very cool. And I'm wondering if these rush orders are possibly because races are doing so well right now. And
Mhm.
with that kind of as the trend line, things are really going great for marathons and distances
Mhm.
of across the board. Talk to me sort of about your big picture perspective on the industry. What's going to be a challenge in the next few years, and what are some of the opportunities as well?
I would say number one challenge would be the rush orders, the convenience that we see in the e-commerce world these days. Amazon, you can order it and get it the next day. And so with the newer races, the newer events that are out there that are taking advantage of the running industry's boom, they are definitely groups of individuals that we need to lead through the process and kind of explain this is what it looks like for a vendor and timelines. Because products are 100% customized, it takes more time to design and develop and then hence create, especially because it's not like you're ordering one medal. You could be ordering 500, 1,000, for some 30,000, not necessarily the new ones. But so I would say that is one challenge that will come. I would say that when it comes to the rush orders and the convenience factor of them, we are working to develop a program to assist. We're looking to ensure that our manufacturing unit internally in the US is ready to take on rush orders, but also leading new customers and new events into our process. We actually will remind people once you've worked with us, we'll start reminding you like, hey, we should start your order now for your event coming up. We do that because we know how much work gets put into a singular event. We know how many different vendors you're already working with. So if we can take one reminder off your plate by reminding you instead of you having to come out to us, we can ensure that you're going to be just that much more successful in tandem. Also, on top of that is the one opportunity I would say is that people are starting to look for the one-stop shop. And Ashworth Awards, we're priding ourselves on really trying to be that for people when it comes to their promotional products and their recognition products. So not just their medals, but the shirts they give away. We have race shirts now available. We can actually do grouping depending on the size to help with cost. So we have grouping available for those, but also promotional products like keychains, like challenge coins, like pins. Volunteer pins are very popular, making sure that you don't have to go to multiple different vendors for the numerous products that you need. Um, yes, there's more of the service-based products like photography and the bib business. Those ones we have partners in the space and we'll send referrals over to them. But when it comes to your physical products that you need in the hands of your participants, your volunteers, and even your spectators, spectators love some sort of swag item, love some sort of memorabilia, right? So we can be that for people, and that's one thing we're we've been trying to put out there and we've been trying to market ourselves as. But it always takes time for people to utilize our capabilities.
So I've got to ask because I feel like everybody in the industry, no matter who you are, should know this. What is the ideal lead time for planning your stuff ahead of an event?
I would say the ideal lead time does depend on how creative you want to be and what product line you want to use. But I would say, at a very minimum, you should be reaching out to your vendor with 2 to 2.5 months from your event. I would argue, though, that a lot of our customers have started to reach out to us early. And so they're actually reaching out to us about 4 months in advance. And then their products are done that much farther in advance so they can get it checked off their list. Our sales cycle right now is showing that everything's being bought about a month in advance from previous years because of not necessarily training, but teaching them what's best for process and to ensure, and then our outreach as well. We start reaching out 4 months in advance.
Yeah. Super interesting. Okay, I was gonna guess 6, but I'm asked my husband. I'm like a planner, so I guess that's where that was coming from.
Yeah, I would argue that other ones might be more like 6 months, but
Yeah,
definitely like I would say 4 months is a prime
that's a
time to
nice
get
safe
things in
window. Okay.
line. Yeah, it's the safe window, but the needed window is like 8 weeks, so
Okay.
about 2.5 months.
Super interesting. Okay, well, I can't let you go without asking you a personal running question. What are you training for? And what's one maybe further out race that's on your bucket list?
Yeah, so Kim and I are both training for this one. We're both training for Tokyo Marathon
Oh,
in
cool.
March right now. And so that'll be our sixth major. So we're gonna get our 6 stars in March. Hopefully all goes well.
Very cool.
Um, I do believe I'm going to actually race it. There's been a couple marathons I've just kind of run recently. So that's when we're racing. And then I know coming up soon is I'm doing Bay State Marathon. It's actually one of the top Boston qualifiers too. It's how I qualified for Boston actually. And they're one that we sponsor local to us. So Kim and I think are going to do the relay half marathon. So we'll see if we have some speed in our systems. And then other than that, I think we have a team 5K coming up in December, the Jingle All the Way 5K in Boston with Greg Hill. So those are our major ones right now. Especially Tokyo. So finger crossed there, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of our like industry friends when we're there.
How cool. That's awesome. Good for you. Well, Morgan, thank you so much. This has been so fun to catch up and learn a little bit more about what's behind the curtain.
Yeah, thank you, Leah. I'm happy to share. We love being transparent and candid about what we do. We're very proud of what we do here at Ashworth Awards. So I'm very excited to be part of the legacy and third generation now.
I love it. Thanks and congrats again.
Yeah, thanks, Leah.